Good morning and welcome to this webinar. Hopefully some of you have previously joined other webinars we've done in the past. You know how it works, but if anyone's new, I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping just to so you fully understand the process and you know what all the buttons do. So you should have a few options on screen. You will see things like Q&A, polls, as well as there's a chat function as well. So what we'll normally do is a couple of my colleagues are on, they'll monitor the chat in case anyone has any issues, but we only really use the chat for any problems. If it's general questions as we walk through, there's a Q&A function. We're not going to use the polls function, it's just the Q&A. So the Q&A function is there. You can just type a question at any point. If I spot it, I'll try and respond there and then. Otherwise, what we normally do is we'll run questions and answers at the end. Hopefully we'll answer most questions as we go through anyway, but yeah, we'll usually do those at the end and do them all at once. But yeah, please feel free to fire questions in at any point, and like I say, we'll make sure we get an answer to you either on this webinar or as a follow-up afterwards if we can't answer the question. Okay, right, so this webinar itself is all about integrated payment plans within our vehicle health check system. It's something we've done for quite a long time actually, with a different provider, although it never gained the momentum we hoped it would. However, you know, in recent times, this year especially, the world seems to be talking about you know, finance options when it comes to red and amber work and things like that. So we've actually now partnered with multiple providers to be able to offer an integrated solution that suits 99% of dealers, I think. So let's just walk through the presentation. And what we're going to do is I'll do a little bit of an introduction, talk about what the payment plans actually are, what they do, in case anyone's not familiar. I realise quite a number of dealers on the call will already have a provider or will be considering one, certainly know what it's all about, but I'll just walk through exactly what the offerings tend to offer. We'll show you how it works. So I'll just talk you through the process, but we'll actually do a live demonstration of the system, how simple it is, you know, how the integration really helps, you know, make the process as quick as possible, even quicker than if you're using the standalone systems, you know, because in 2019 going to 2020, we want as much integration as possible. We don't want to be changing systems, you know, copying customer data from one to another. So we'll show you how that works and, you know, how it can fit nice and seamlessly into the everyday processes inside the dealer. We've got some interesting stats as well. So, you know, I say we've been doing this for quite a while, but it's only this past few months that we've really had a big focus on it. And there's some interesting data coming out of the more recent collaborations we've done already. And I'll share that with you as well. The headline stat, which you've already seen, is to do with video. And we'll talk a little bit about that more in detail later on. In terms of the running time, we did put down 45 minutes. It could be less. It's probably going to be less, to be honest, because the content is not huge. But the Q&A, you know, there may be a lot of questions, so I've just allowed 45 minutes just in case. But this is just to give you a general insight and just some better understanding, and especially the live demo of how it works. Okay, so who are the providers we're working with now? As I said, we have done this for quite a while with a different provider who we now don't work with anymore. This year, we've decided to work with the two market-leading providers in our view, who are Payment Assist and Auto Service Finance, otherwise known as ASF. They both offer quite a similar offering. Both 0% products, that's to the 0% to the customer. The dealer does pay a percentage of the value of the payment plan. They both offer multiple terms. The approval process is really quick, and we'll show you that. The acceptance rates are very high. Both companies state over 90% acceptance rates. To be honest, probably closer to 100%, because these transactions are relatively small. They're over a shorter period. You know, so they are easier transactions to get approved. The process is 100% digital, so there's no paperwork for any dealer staff. It's really, really slick. And like I say, with the integration with ourselves, with the vehicle health check system, that process is even slicker because there's pretty much no double keying whatsoever. And like I say, we'll show you that when we go through the process in a minute. In terms of why this is important, I mean, from our perspective, being a vehicle health check provider, we're constantly talking to OEMs, we're talking to dealers about vehicle health check performance, especially, red work conversion on the day, and even amber work conversion, to be honest. What we're seeing already, partnering with Payment Assist First and now Auto Service Finance as well, is that we're getting a lot of dealer engagement. A lot of dealers are interested in how offering a finance product to try and assist selling the red work and amber work can bolster those sales and improve those KPIs. So in terms of the process, so the process with both companies is actually pretty much identical, to be honest. I'm not here to sell you one company over the other services. We're staying agnostic and we're working with both in equal measure, purely because there's enough room in the marketplace for both. And we as a VHC provider, talking to a lot of OEMs these days, different companies are going with different providers. So we're just working with everyone, just so that we can offer the same service to all dealers and all OEMs alike. The actual process itself, really, really quick. So standard process of the customer gets the vehicle health check report, and that can either be by paper or digitally, and we'll show you the various options in the health check system when we do the live demo. But ultimately, the customer receives that health check report, advising them that they need some work doing. Now, again, that can be red, it can be amber, could be both, and the payment plans work for both as a combination or each in isolation. There's no limit on how many health check items can be included in a payment plan either. So the customer will receive that report. There are various options to actually get an application form to the customer. That is either done by the service advisor, but it can also be self-served by the customer as well. And again, I'll show you how that works. Once the application form has been processed digitally by the customer, it's simply a case of the approval happens, and as soon as that approval has been granted by either of the payment providers, then that authorization comes straight back into the vehicle health check system automatically, and the work can just be done there and then. The actual process itself is very, very short time frame. Can be done in less than 10 minutes, to be honest. So it's not like you've got customers hanging around waiting for a decision to be made or anything like that. You can just be getting on with the work really, really fast. So what I'd like to do is actually walk you through a live demonstration of how it works. Starting with the health check already been done. Starting with the health check that's already been done, and we'll walk you through what that looks like. Okay, so here's one I prepared earlier. So I didn't want to walk you through the actual creation of a health check. I just wanted to go straight into the point where we've identified some concerns. We've got everything priced up. We know the availability. We're at the point where we can talk to the customer about their health check. Now, on this particular health check, I've actually created a couple of concerns. One is that there's a nail in the tyre and that the repair kit needs replacing for the spare tyre repair kit. And there's the traditional method of printing the PDF off to the customer. We can do that in the dealer. So we get the PDF, show that to the customer, talk them through it, and they may then say, actually, I'd like to finance the work because I just can't afford it today. And really, really simple process. All we need to do, if we're talking to the customer face to face, is select the items that need to be covered on the payment plan. So in this case, it would be that tyre and the repair kit, £250 worth. Click payment plan. We get the items on the left that need to be financed. If there's multiple products available, because like as I said before, both providers offer different payment lengths and things like that. Here we've got, just as an example, either a 4-month or a 6-month option. Choose the 4-month, click calculate, and you get payments. So what you have is the total amounts, 4 payments split equally, 0% interest, as we mentioned earlier, and the total amount there. So you can talk to the customer. This is all customer facing from within the health check system. Show this to the customer, explain it to them, and as long as they're happy with it, click on send application form. As a service advisor, all that will then do is send the application form to the customer via email. They'll open that up on their device, and they can just walk through the process on their device. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But what I also want to show you is how it can work digitally, because this is done as if we're face-to-face with the customer in the business. We may not be face-to-face. We may actually need to send the customer the health check report via email. So in this case, we'll click to send the media. We can review photos and videos as you normally would in the health check system. And what we'll then do is we'll actually send a copy of the digital report to the customer. So I'm just going to fast forward and assume we've done that. Now, the customer would then receive an email where they can open up the health check. And this is what they would see when they get that. So they can do this on desktop, iPad, mobile. It really makes no difference. It's device neutral. So what the customer would generally do is, hopefully the dealer's done a video for the customer, and the customer would watch the video, which explains to them, the fact there is a nail on the side front tyre. Technicians obviously could normally be talking over this just to say what issues there are with the vehicle. Repair kit on the spare tyre as well, and the customer would then go through the process of just rating the video as normal. They can then look through the health check itself, read the guide on tyre wear, brakes, whatever they need to. And then when they come to the actual repair items of concern at the bottom, we've got the tyre here. There's a little legend there about the fact that in this case we're using the payment assist integration. I'll come on to where we're up to with ASF at the moment in just a moment, but this one's a payment assist integration you see here. So it's telling the customer that you as a dealer have partnered with whichever payment provider it is to offer them interest-free payments, and that they can essentially finance that. You would have told them this over the phone as well normally. But the customer then has a few options. So they can either decline the work digitally, they can authorize it, or they can choose to have a payment plan. So when they click on the button, that then adds it to the basket in the top right. They can do the same for the other repair. They could decline that one and only authorize the other one. But let's say we want to do a payment plan on both. Customer then clicks checkout. And it's pretty much the same process you saw on the internal portal that a service advisor would use. This time it's just the customer choosing and doing it themselves. So this is the self-serve I mentioned earlier on. So we've got the 4 or 6 month option. We'll choose the 4-month. Customer just clicks calculate. They get the same payment breakdown schedule there, very, very clear, telling them exactly how it's broken down and what the payments are going to be. And then they simply click request application form, which is the same button we had previously in the health check system you saw before. You can see here it changes on the 2 concerns to say that there's a payment plan application in process. And then what happens is the customer will have received an email that essentially it has the link to the payment application form. So here we go. So this email can be tailored to exactly how you want it. This is just our demonstration system. The text can be altered however you want. But click the link there, and that takes them through to the payment provider's portal. Now, as I said, we're using the payment assist integration here. The ASF integration is just being finalized at the moment, so that's going to be available just early in the new year. The process, to be honest, for the customer is very similar with both companies. We, as a VHC provider, take DMS data when we do the health check in the first place. So we've already got the customer information. So at no point, as you saw, have I had to type in any customer details to process this application. We're just sending over to Payment Assist, in this case, the customer's information. Now, each provider may have additional questions that just aren't held on a DMS. In this case, date of birth would be something that's not usually recorded in a dealer's DMS. So those additional questions might have to be completed on the online form. But we will send over things like the customer's name, telephone number, email address. You've got the customer's address itself. So this is all reducing the amount of typing the customer's having to do on, to process the application. Then, definitely this will be something the customer has to type in, is their own personal information in terms of their card details. As you can see, it's not an awful lot, and it's in line with how people shop online these days. So not too much information to complete. Click submit. Once that's been submitted, the application goes through. All the information's being processed, and it's like I said, it's the same process for either provider. Customer gets a decision, and all they need to do then is sign the agreement. So this is done digitally. Can be done face-to-face via a keyboard as well, or a mouse. And that's confirmed there. So that's finalized now. And then from a customer's perspective, it's saying, everything's done. We're going to take you back to the health check. So the customer can then click on the link to go back to the health check. And hopefully you've noticed that this is all one seamless customer process. So the customer doesn't feel like they're being having to click various links to go to different providers or anything like that. They're just being taken from one portal to the next. If I just refresh this one, excuse me. So while I'm doing that, I'll just refresh our service plan, our repair as well. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what you can see on here, so on the customer's page, the work that they authorized has gone to blue. So the payment plan has been approved. So they get positive outcome. They also get an email to say that your payment plan's gone through from whichever provider is being used. And then the service advisor also gets a notification to say the work's been authorized in the health check system itself. You can see here there's a payment plan icon. We have a payment plan tab as well. And you can see here, work's been authorized as well. And now all that remains is to actually get the work done. Once the work's been authorized, that's the dealer's guarantee of payment. And that's all shown in here. So the service advisor, again, is not switching systems to figure out whether or not they can progress with the work. It's all shown in our system. So they're just going about their daily business, with managing all the different customers. At the appropriate time, will get a notification, and then they can manage the repair in here. Once the work's been done, all they need to do is click to complete the work, and that's it. That closes off the payment plan in our system. The two different payment providers may have different ways of you actually receiving your money from them, but in terms of the actual health check process, that's all that needs to be done from the service advisor's perspective. So hopefully you've seen there that there's very few clicks from both the service advisor and the customer's perspective to actually process the entire application. I've talked you through it quite slowly. You could actually do it really, really quick, especially if you're side by side with the customer as well, or even on the phone. This could be done in a relatively short space of time. Work gets approved, and just moving on with the repairs that same day, usually within the same hour. Okay, so that's the live demonstration part of this webinar. What I'd like to do now is just take you through a little bit of insight that we've had already, just off the back of the integration work we've done so far. So Now, these aren't stats that have come from either payment provider. These are our own stats, our own analysis. What we've noticed straight away is that 100% of the work, either whether it's red or amber work that's getting authorized through a payment plan, is being sold at full retail. So there's absolutely zero discounting happening when we're applying this. So yes, there's a bit of a margin to pay on the finance itself, but when you offset that against the discount you probably would have given to sell the red work, maybe 10, 15, or even 20% plus, then this is the fact that the dealers that are selling red work on these finance plans already, 100% full retail pricing is just fantastic. You're retaining all your margins there, except for paying the small percentage for the payment plan itself. The other thing I found interesting is the average value of work that's being covered is not actually that high. I think there's different numbers get banded around, whether it's 600, 700, 800 pounds, but 600 pounds on a worth of work. It just shows you that people are financing, and don't forget that's the average. There's people financing 200 pounds worth of work. That is showing you that people are quite happy to finance a relatively small fee, small amount of work, whether it's a few £100s. There are some plans that work for over £1,000, but with the average being 600, I think that's quite interesting, and it just shows you how much additional revenue could be sold where payment plans are being presented to customers. What I found really interesting is that the stat we used to actually promote this webinar itself was 73%. It's actually crept up since we ran the marketing for the webinar. Now it's 78%. Of all the payment plans that have been sold through our system have had a customer video attached. Now, I just think that really highlights how important it is in going into 2020 to make sure your vehicle health check has a video with it. Now, I'm sure if those of you who are eDynamix customers using the VHC system, you're fully aware that it has the video capability. You see in the video that's playing here, our new augmented concerns functionality. I think anything you can do just to, really visualize the health check to the customer, using that functionality is going to really help get the message across. And then if you're offering the payment plans as well, and you're telling the customers about those, then you really are going to have an increased vehicle health check conversion rates, especially on red work, I would imagine, but even amber work, I would say you're going to sell more of that on the day as well. So yeah, I think it's still early days in terms of analyzing all these different KPIs, but video for sure, coupled with the payment plans, is definitely the way forward in terms of increased VHC upsell. Okay, and that's it really. So I just wanted to get our early insight over to you, just show you how it works, show you how seamlessly it can be integrated into your daily processes, and yeah, essentially now just open it up to any questions you might have. I see there's one in already. Okay, so what is the minimum and maximum amount allowed on the payment plan? To be honest, there's no restriction from our perspective. If it's £1 set by you as a dealer or by the payment provider, then that is it. What I don't want to go into is the differences between the two payment providers. They both have different limits in terms of minimums and maximums. To be honest, on the lower scale, it tends to be very, very small, if not zero. Some dealers self-impose a minimum 250, minimum 100, but what we've found with both providers is that is set by the dealer, not by the provider. The upper limit, it generally depends on the term. So the shorter term policies tend to have lower maximum limits. But the best thing for you to do is actually to speak to both Payment Assist and ASF about what they can offer you and understand that yourself. I did mention about the integrations that we're doing. So the payment assist is the one we did first, and there's no reason for that. We just started talking to them first out of the two. We are currently finishing off the integration with ASF. That is going live early in the new year, and we know a lot of our customers using the VHC platform already are ASF customers. So we're conscious that we need to get that integration up and running, and we'll keep everyone up to speed on that as well. How many eDynamix dealers currently offer this is the next one. I think at the moment, in terms of the two payment providers combined, it's around about the 150 mark. In terms of total dealers, but that is growing all the time. Literally every week we're having new sign-ups, so it is quite significant. I do also know it's worth adding that quite a lot of OEMs are starting to build relationships with both providers, and I think moving into next year, there's going to be a lot of talk about that coming from the OEMs themselves. This is another reason why we've done these integrations, because it seems to be expected now. Okay, so another question: does it require integration with the DMS? Well, the vehicle health check system itself is integrated with the DMS. We integrate with all the regular DMS systems. The actual payment plan side of things requires no integration with the DMS whatsoever. The integration is purely with ourselves, and because, like I say, because we are integrated with the DMS, we pass the DMS information across that way. Charge to the dealer per plan. Okay, so that is again, it depends on the relationship you have with the payment provider. We don't charge per plan. We have a minimum usage charge that if you don't use enough, but the actual payment plan itself is generally speaking, it's a rate that you pay on the amount of each individual transaction. So let's say it's 10%, for example. If you get £1,000 transaction, then you'll pay 10% is the charge. But that charge is not to ourselves; that's to the payment providers. But like I say, you need to speak to them because they have different rates for different things, and they both work slightly differently as well. More than happy to introduce you to both companies as well. If anyone's already an eDynamix customer, you can speak to us first, and we can put you in contact with either one. If there's any more questions, please fire away. Oh, someone just asked what the contact details. Yeah, so we'll absolutely pass those over. If you want to, in the first instance, let's put this on screen now. You can send us an inquiry to inquiries@eDynamix.com. And what we'll then do is we'll send you information for both companies, who you can inquire to, and you can then arrange meetings. Both companies will happily come to your business, do a demonstration on site, and walk you through the options, the various terms and things like that. But in terms of the actual relationship, how it works with ourselves, as you've seen, the process is going to be the same. So it really is just up to which company you prefer to work with. Okay, so what we'll do, hang around a couple more minutes and see if there's any more questions. Other than that, we'll call it a day. There doesn't seem to be any more questions coming through. So, well, let me take the opportunity to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. There is one more. Hang on. Do you think this would become a very common payment option? I think it already is, if I'm honest. I've spent most of this year talking to OEMs about VHC performance. It's a big focus for most OEMs for next year in terms of vehicle health check itself, and every one I've spoken to so far is talking about payment options as part of the offering. So yes, it would be very, very common. We're certainly going to work on improving our customer page to make it even more seamless for the customer, make it easier for to be offered, and also offer various customer journeys as well, instead of just having the one like we have now. But thank you for your time, and like I say, any inquiries, please send us an email in. Thank you very much.